So we are starting this short webinar on European funds for international cooperation, which are basically delivered through the EuropeAid Director General. But first of all, we look at the summary. I'm going to tell you a few words about who I am and why am I doing this. Some of you already know me, so I will be very short. Then we're going to make an introduction to the issue of what European Union is doing in terms of international cooperation. And basically the first distinction that we have to make is on the geographical areas which are covered by the European policies. And then we are going to look at these three areas: the pre-accession area, the neighborhood area, and the rest of the world. But the most important thing is that you should learn and navigate into the EuropeAid website, which is the website where all the call for proposals and call for tenders are published. So that's the real source of concrete information on how to take part. Now, for technical reasons, I cannot use the webcam today, so I've published a picture of myself so you can see the face of the behind the voice. Why am I doing this? Well, I started working with European programs since 1995 when I went to Brussels as an official at the European Commission to start in the first framework program for research and development. And then I have always been working in this area as a civil servant in the ministry, as an entrepreneur, as a consultant. I've done a lot of proposal writing. I am currently doing a lot of project management. And what I would like to do is to share with you some of the experience of the knowledge that I have acquired in these 30 years of work with the European Commission. So far so good. The first thing that I have to point out is that the area of international cooperation is structured according to three main geographical areas, and the programs, most programs are centered in these three according to this structure. The first one is the so-called IPA. IPA stands for Instrument for Pre-accession Countries. This is directed to those countries which are in the process of becoming member states. And currently, the countries which are in these states are Albania, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and Turkey. And other, as we see later on, other countries are going to join this project. So there is one specific large program which is dealing with these countries. And of course, because these countries are going to join the European Union, they have to go through a process of adapting their national procedures, but also some other issues within the country to the standards of the European Union. It is a difficult process, it is a long process, and the Commission is supporting these countries also through financial instruments, through projects which help these countries to get closer to the European Union. One thing I want to stress is that you should never make a confusion between European Union and Europe. There are many European countries which are not part of the European Union. Sometimes we say some countries are not part of Europe. I've heard sometimes people saying Albania is not a European country. Albania is a European country. It's not yet part of the European Union. So please be very strict under this respect, also because in the area of European cooperation, international cooperation, that can bring a great confusion. Okay, so the first block is these countries, which are very close, also geographically speaking, to the European Union, and they are in the process of becoming member states. The second large area is the so-called European Neighborhood Instrument country. The European Neighborhood is a policy whereby the European Union takes care of the countries which, as the name says, are neighboring. And the south, so if you look south, these countries are basically the South Mediterranean countries, Algeria, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco, and Palestine, Syria, Tunisia. And if we look at east, these countries are Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine, and Russia. So there is a specific program or a set of programs, let's say a policy which includes a number of programs which are taking care of these countries, where of course the idea is that the European Union would like to provide a support to this country, not because they're going to become um, members of the European Union, because many of them are not even in Europe, but because the European Union considers important to establish strong relationships with these countries, which are neighboring, and therefore they have borders in common. And the third big area, last but not least, is what is called developing countries, which includes all of the other countries of the world, except, of course, industrialized countries like USA or Japan or Canada. And in the last programming period, 2014-2020, some of the so-called emerging economies, India, China, Brazil, are considered not being developing countries anymore, which does not mean that they don't get support from the European Commission, but they get a very specific type of support, which is very focused on certain areas. Now, just as a reminder, as most of you definitely know, but there is a lot of confusion around. So the 28 member states of the European Union are those which are listed in this slide. You don't have to make a confusion with, for instance, the countries which belong to the euro. And not all of these countries have the euro, like the UK doesn't have the euro, Ireland doesn't have the euro, but they are part of the European Union as of September 2015. And these countries are the so-called member states. When I talk about the member states, is these 28 countries and not other countries. As we have said before, there are candidate countries, pre-accession countries, countries which are negotiating their to become part of the European Union. There are two other countries, which are Bosnia and Herzegovina and Kosovo, which are in the process of becoming candidates. So they're not candidates at the moment, but they might become candidates in the near future. And so the number of candidate countries could change in the future. Now, of course, what we expect is that some of these candidate countries will become member states, and therefore there wouldn't be candidate countries anymore. They would become partners. Now, as I said before, the external cooperation of the European Union is managed by one Director General, which is called DEFCO, and by an operational Director General, which is called EuropeAid. EuropeAid is very important to remember, because it's the key to access through Google the website where you find all of the information. Now, as I've said before, there are three main policies which are centered on the geographical area. The first one is the IPA for pre-accession countries, and I'm going to access the website of the European Commission, which illustrates basically the instrument for pre-accession assistance. Now, as I said before, the beneficiary countries are these: Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Kosovo, Montenegro, Serbia, and Turkey. This program, as I said before, the idea behind this program is to support, as it says here, it is the means by which the European Union supports reforms in these countries with financial and technical help, trying to bring the way they are structured, the way they work, closer to the way the European Union member states work. So, and of course, it says it is an investment into the future of the countries and for the European Union themselves. The idea is to prepare these countries for the rights and obligations that come with the European Union membership. It works in a number of areas. The first one is, of course, the public administration reform, the rule of law, sustainable economy, people, agriculture, and rural development. And in each one of these areas, there are programs which are published. There are call for proposals where you can participate. I have taken the one which is called people. As you can see here, we are talking about the instrument for pre-accession, and here there are some definition of areas where the Commission has supported operational projects which address, for instance, social development, human resources and inclusion. In Kosovo, the focus is on safer and healthier living. In Montenegro, supporting gender equality. In Turkey, in education and skills development. So for each one of these countries and for each one of these themes, there have been call for proposals which have been published, which were open to different types of organization, normally civil society organizations, public authorities, but also private companies and so on and so forth, where specific actions, specific projects supporting these sort of objectives were pursued. Like, for instance, if you look at Turkey, education and skill developments, there might have been projects on how to improve the education system there. And these were projects funded by the Commission, by the European Commission, through this pre-accession countries. I'm going very fast now. On this, we are going afterwards. We are going to see to look at some specific calls for proposals, so that you can see how this is structured. If we look at the second large area, neighborhood countries, there is here a specific page, of course, within the European Commission website. And here, as you can see, neighborhood, the keywords is neighborhood. Neighborhood means that these are countries which you can see here in the slide, which have borders either on the ground or in from the seaside. They have borders in common with the European Union. And under this respect, in the southern area, you have the South Mediterranean countries, from Algeria to Syria and Tunisia. And to the east, you have Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine, and Russia. The European Neighborhood Instrument is working in different ways. Excuse me 1 second. Here I am. Technical problem. So there are bilateral. There is what is called the bilateral cooperation. Bilateral cooperation, which means that calls for proposals are launched for specific countries. There may be a program for Palestine, one program for Tunisia, on one specific issue, which is defined in the bilateral ENP action plans, which are documents where the European Commission, together with each one of these countries, defines a number of priorities that have to be tackled, which can be in the area of education and training, of agriculture, of transport, or civil society, whatever. And these action plans, as it says here, they define and they set out an agenda for political and economic reforms and sets the priorities for cooperation. Therefore, you see here priorities of bilateral cooperation include good governance, justice and security, sustainable economic development, trade, transport, energy, environment, social and human development, and so on and so forth. So the first thing I recommend is that if you are in one of these countries, you go to this website and you identify for your country the action plan, which you see here for each country uh, you have a specific action plan, and you look at this, and so that you can see immediately what are the priorities which have been agreed between your country and the European Union, and on which action will be taken, which means basically programs will be project call for proposals will be published. So this is at the bilateral level. Bilateral, I remind you, means between the European Union as a whole and each one of the countries which are affected by the neighborhood policy. Then you have a broader type of cooperation, which is called regional, neighborhood-wide, or cross-border. Regional cooperation, what does it mean? Regional in the European Union terminology means a broad region. Like in this case, you have two broad regions, which is the southern Mediterranean and the eastern neighborhood. So when you see a regional cooperation program, for instance, for southern neighborhood, it means that it is a program, a call for, or a series of call for proposals, which will address all of the countries which are part of the southern Mediterranean. You can have a neighborhood-wide cooperation program, which includes all of the countries which are addressed by the neighborhood policy. And you have the cross-border cooperation. Cross-border cooperation, on the other hand, promotes only cooperation between certain sets of countries which have a border in common. On which areas is it focused? Well, we have looked at before, but a key element in the revised neighborhood policy is the support to civil society. What does it mean, civil society? All types of organizations, non-profit organizations which work in the social area or in the area of promoting human rights, gender equality, and these kind of things. There are a number of projects which can be launched to reinforce civil society organizations in these countries. And basically there are two main programs which address this area. It is called the European Instrument for Democracy and Human Rights, and the second one is the Non-State Actors and Local Authorities thematic program, which we will look at in a few minutes. So this is basically the neighborhood policy. I recommend that you I will take care of these. We will take note of these websites. I will send you these slides so that you can have all of the links, that you need, but also. Now, I'm sorry for that, so I'll try to recover now. So as I said before, I recommend that you take good note of this website. You can easily reach them through Google, but I will send you the slides with all the links so that you can access that. These sites are very rich. And as I said before, the first thing is to see exactly what kind of information is relevant to the country where you are from. Another thing which I have not put in the slide, I will do it later on. Another recommendation that I can give you, in whatever country you are, which is not member of the European Union, there is normally a delegation of the European Union in your country, and on that, and they have a website where they normally give visibility to all of the programs, of the specific programs which are relevant to your country. Let's make we can make an example. For instance, if I take something like I go to Google and I type EU delegation to Armenia, you see that I get to a website which is I accept cookies, which is the website of the delegation to Armenia, and it normally you see you have here issues which regard grants and tenders and these kind of things, and these are sometimes published directly by the EU delegation, so you don't necessarily see them on the EuropeAid website, but they are published here. So I recommend that you get, in whichever country you are, you get familiar with the website of the delegation of the European Union in your country, because that is a very important source of information. Okay, fine. Now, so we have seen quickly the instrument for pre-accession. We have seen the neighborhood. There are a number of documents. For instance, this document here, which comes from the NP, the European Neighborhood and Partnership Instrument. It is old. It's 2007, 2013, because it is an overview of projects which have already finished. Okay, and it's quite rich. And here you have examples of activities which have been financed in the through this policy in the previous call. So here, for instance, in Algeria, you have a few figures of the money which has been spent, and also some ideas of how it was spent, how this money was used to promote society in those countries. Okay, so and as you can see, it is split by on a country by country basis. Okay, now the third large area concerns all of these countries which are not included in the previous two programs. And therefore, we are talking about what is called developing countries. Now, there are several areas, as you can see. This is, for instance, this is Africa. This is still NP. This is Asia, and so on. So it seems that whenever I open a website, the voice goes down. So I will try to speak slowly and not to navigate so much. And I hope that improves the quality of the transmission. I hope you can hear me. So as I said before, in this area you have programs and projects around the world, wherever assistance is needed. The idea is that, again, the kind of support that the Commission provides to each country is focused on the specific needs of that particular country. So there is normally a negotiation between the European Union and the specific country, and on this basis action plans are published, and on this basis the countries are specific programs are developed for these countries. For instance, if I take Asia, there are specific actions you see for China, and and here you can find information about the specific countries. So if I click on, for instance, India, uh, you have an overview of the kind of cooperation which is possible. And here, for instance, you see examples of call for proposals which are open and where you can submit. No, these are closed. Okay, these are projects which have been approved, and you can see some types of projects which have been approved. For instance, this one is strengthening participation in local governance to enhance access to entitlements and basic services by marginalized tribal communities. There's a lot of focus on marginalized groups, for instance. Strengthening the capacity of tribal organization to influence policy and ensure implementation of right-based legislation. This is also a typical call for proposals in the area of cooperation, where the Commission is trying to involve groups of people which are normally marginalized because of historical reasons, social reasons, or whatever, into the life of the country, into the social society life. So, as I said, it is impossible in such a short seminar to see, to go through all of these programs. What I'm trying to do is to give you an overview and to tell you how to navigate into these sites. Uh, the most important website that you should be aware of once you have an idea of the global structure is the EuropeAid website. And I'm going to access it through Google because I want to show you how to get there through Google. If I type EuropeAid funding, it's very easy to remember. The first item which comes out is called calls for proposals and procurement notices. And this is the one we are going to look at. It looks very simple and very easy, but it is a very powerful tool. You have to click on advanced search, and within these few fields you will be able to access all of the calls for proposals which are published by the EuropeAid Directorate General. The first thing that you have to know is the difference between these types of calls. Grants. Grants means what we call calls for proposals. It is where the Commission gives financial support to projects which are not commercial projects. The Commission is not buying anything. It is providing support for developing best practice, new ideas, the kind of projects that we have seen a few minutes ago in the area of good governance, of civil society organizations, and so on. The idea here is that the Commission can support through a single call several projects. They are not funded at 100%. Normally, there must be a co-financing from the participant. But the idea is that these projects are supported in order to improve the way of living or the way of functioning or the quality of life in the countries. The three other types, which are supplies, services, and works, on the contrary, are calls for tenders, which means the Commission is publishing call for tenders in order to buy either supplies, either services or works. Supplies means that they can buy electrical equipment for one country, or cars, or whatever is needed. Works, it means building a road, or a housing or something. Services are, for instance, technical assistance, etc. But these are called for tenders. So there will be only one winner, and it will be on a commercial basis. The Commission is buying some service. So it's a totally different approach. When we talk about European funding, we normally think about grants. So I will click on grants. And then I have to check the status, which can be closed, open, or forecast. So closed, if you look at the call for proposals which are closed, it can be useful because it tells you the story, what has happened before, but of course it doesn't give you an opportunity to participate. Whereas open are those which are currently open, and forecast are those which are supposed to be published in the near future. Uh, and this is very interesting. It's interesting information, because if we know that 3 months or 6 months from now a call for proposal will be published, we can start preparing for submission. Now, what I have to tell you is that you cannot always rely on the forecasted calls, which means that if the Commission publishes a forecast, then it is not an obligation for them to publish the call for proposals. It's just an intention. And then if it doesn't happen, you cannot complain. So you can take it with the necessary caution. So therefore I will click on open and forecast. And then I have two ways basically of defining what I'm looking for. In the program area, you see you have a very wide list of programs according to the kind of distinction that we have seen before. You have regional programs, pre-accession, neighborhood, or you have thematic programs: environment, food security, human rights, stability, investing in people, migration, non-state actors and local authorities, nuclear safety. So you can access it through this key, or you can access it on a geographical basis. You can select all regions, macro regions like Central Asia or Eastern Europe, or even on a country by country basis. And see, so if you are in one of these countries, you can see if there are programs which are open specifically for this for your country. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a program which is called Non-State Actors and Local Authorities, which, as the name says, involves both non-state actors, which means basically civil society organizations which are not public, but they are not private companies, basically the non-profit word, and the local authorities. And it covers basically all of the countries in the world. I click on search. And at the moment, there are three calls for proposals which are open. Here I have the deadline. This one, which is focused on Colombia, has the 20th of November as a deadline. This one, which covers all countries, is to the 2nd of November, 1 month from now, whereas the one about Nigeria is the 30th of October. Actually, it says all countries, but this one is focused on Palestine. What does it mean? Well, it means that this project must be focused on Palestine. So if I click on this, I hope you can still hear me. So now I stop, and I hope you can hear me well. When you click on a specific call for proposals, you get this information. The date when it was published on the 15th of September. The deadline is the 2nd of November. The type is action grants, which means, as I said before, it is a call for proposals. There's a possibility that more project is funded and they are not buying anything. They are trying to promote the improvement, for instance, of the way civil society organizations work in Palestine for economic development. There is a total budget of 7 million euros, and this is important, we will see, as we will see in a few minutes. And then you have a high number of documents, which is the documents that you need in order to participate in the call. The first one is called Guidelines for Applicants, and that is where they explain to us how the call works, what are the priorities, the rules, etc. Then you have these documents that you will have to fill in if you want to submit a project within this area. We will look at them a little bit later on. Now I'm going to download the guidelines for applicants, and unfortunately the server, it says that the server is not available, which is very bad news. Because it doesn't allow me to download the documents. Okay. Very bad news. Now let's hope it will come back soon. Otherwise, we're going to look. I'm going to look in my files if I have something similar. Let's look at these documents. The first one, guidelines for applicants. It is the document, as I said, which explains you how to participate, what are the objectives of the program, what you have to comply with, the rules, the funding, and so on. Then we have two documents, A1 and A2, which are concept note and full application. What does it mean? It means that in this case, there will be a two-step submission procedure. Within the deadline of the 2nd of November, we will have to submit what is called a concept note. A concept note is a very short document, normally 4 to 5 pages, where we describe the key ideas and justification for our project. We send it in by the 2nd of November. Then it is evaluated by the Commission. There is a selection, and those who are selected, the concept notes who are selected, they are given normally a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, to write the full application. So if in this case, within the deadline, the 2nd of November, we have to submit the concept note. As you can imagine, this is in a way a simplification because it is a short document. It's 4 pages, 5 pages. And then only if we are pre-selected, then we go to the second stage. Now, the fact of going to the second stage does not mean that we have automatically been selected for the final, the funding of the final project. But it increases our chances for success. The full application, if I manage to download it later on, I will show you. It is normally a more complex document. It can be between 50 and 100 pages, and you have to provide a lot of details about what you want to do, who are the partners, what is the different actions that you're going to put in place, and so on. Then there will be, of course, an Excel file for the budget, which is normally quite detailed. And then you have an Annex C, which is called the logical framework. Logical framework is a design methodology which has been applied now for many years. The logical framework matrix is basically a short document which shows a synthesis, a summary of the project, but it is very, very much structured according to a certain format. So developing a logical framework is something that requires some knowledge. And the rest are administrative documents. So these are the guidelines that I have downloaded. As you can see, it is called Support to Civil Society Organization in Palestine for Economic Development. These are the guidelines for applicants. And the deadline for submission of the concept note is the 2nd of November at 22 hours. But it's only 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Jerusalem time for if you deliver by hand. Be very careful about the deadline because as you can see, for instance, if you want to deliver it by hand, then it must arrive at the Jerusalem office of the European Commission by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So then you have a lot of description. You get the background. I'm not going to do that. I'm looking at the priorities that have to be addressed by this program. The first one is stimulating policy innovation. So you can submit actions in the following area of intervention: advocacy for legislation fostering inclusive and green economy. For instance, providing incentives to green and inclusive business. Surveying and sharing best practice from other countries' experience on green economic policies. Enhancing market opportunity for Palestinian-made products through campaigning for responsible consumption. Facilitating green branding of Palestinian-made products. I remind you that this is local authorities and non-state actors. So this one is more, I would say, for local authorities, policymakers. The second priority is supporting socio-economic initiatives, so supporting the creation and development of social enterprises and green enterprises through startup approach, etc., creating spin-offs, promoting Palestinian-made products. And the third one is contributing to the improvement of the business environment, so raising awareness and training of private sectors actors in inclusive economy, social responsible business, corporate social responsibility, increase quality and availability of services to enterprises, etc. Encouraging knowledge and experience transfer from other countries, especially from Europe and the region. So as you can see, these are actions which have to be I see there are questions, but I would like to answer all the questions at the end, okay? So here you have some definitions. Let's see the financial allocation. As it has been said before, it's 7 million euros overall. Each project, a grant requested under this call, must fall between the following minimum and maximum amount: minimum 600,000, maximum 1.5 million. Be careful because this is the contribution which you get from the European Commission, and you have to stay within this range. If you submit a proposal with a request for funding which is outside this range, it will be automatically excluded. You can ask for a funding which goes from 51% to 90% of the total eligible cost for Palestinian civil society organization, and 75% if you are in Europe. Of course, the total cost, the balance is the co-funding. So each partner will have to provide a co-funding, some own resources to arrive to get to the amount. And but be careful, as I said, because this the grant that you ask for must fall within this range. What do I mean? If for instance you decide that all of you are 75%, including the Palestinians, if you submit a project for a total cost of 1 million, then the funding will be 750,000 and it will fall into this range. If you submit a project whose total cost is 600,000, then the funding will be 75% of that. It will be lower than the minimum and you will be automatically excluded. So be very careful. Uh, you might ask me, how can I choose the funding which I'm requesting? It is not said anywhere that if you request a lower percentage, you will be better placed. So it is up to you to decide what kind of co-funding you want to provide. So these are, and here you have the rules. Who can participate? So the applicant is the coordinator, is one who submits. There must be, can be co-applicants, partners, which are doing the work together. Who can submit a proposal? The lead applicant, the coordinator, must be a legal person. So individuals cannot submit a proposal. It must be non-profit making. It must be a civil society organization, and will find a definition of CSO. And priority will be given to those who are related to economic development, such as cooperative, producers association, farmers association, and so on. It must be directly responsible for preparation and management. The coordinator must have the headquarters in Palestine and must be registered in the Palestinian competent authorities, or it can be based in the European member states and contracting parties. So the coordinator can either be in Palestine or in an EU member states. My personal view is that if you can submit a proposal where the coordinator is in Palestine or in the beneficiary country, it is better. And of course, then you can add other countries as partners. Like if you are a European organization, you can be a partner. But of course, the call doesn't say that it is mandatory. Sometimes be careful, because EuropeAid calls are very much different to each other. So you might have calls where it is mandatory that the coordinator, the lead partner, is in the beneficiary countries. So you must read it very, very carefully each time. So you have the co-applicants, which are the partners. You can have affiliated parties, but this is quite unusual. And the locations, very, very important. The actions must take place in Palestine. You can have specific activities within the scope of the action for its benefits, which can be implemented outside, but it must be basically located there. There are the type of activities you are sent to the document, program and priority issues, and so on and so forth. So I think this is basically, and then you have some information about the eligibility of cost and these kind of things. So I would like to go back to the documents. I wanted to show you, sorry, it is still not working, but I can download, I hope, the document. I'm just going to show you a concept note, an example of concept note. So a concept note I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, that's fine. So this is a Word file that I have downloaded, and where you can fill in the information. How is a concept note structured? Uh, okay. Description of the action, objectives of the action, target groups. Here it calls for overall objectives and specific objectives. This is this distinction which is created by the logical framework approach. I am considering putting online a course on project cycle management, the logical framework approach. But anyway, this comes from the logical framework, which you will have to do it anyway. Here you have a description of the actions, and in the application form, in the instructions, you have the 5 points that you have to define. And this is maximum 1 page. Then you have 3 pages to describe the relevance to the objective sector theme specific priorities of the call for proposal. Here you have to explain in detail why you are doing this project and why your project is corresponding to what the Commission is asking for, what is described in the program. And the other point, which is also extremely important, I would say vital one, it is the relevance to the particular needs and constraints of the target country or countries, region, etc. So you have to explain why this project is important to the country, in this case, for instance, Palestine, but also to the target groups, etc. What kind of problems you have to solve. So basically here you have to provide what is called a context analysis in the specific area. Let's assume that you want to submit a project for improving the economic development by creating entrepreneurship, by bringing the people to become entrepreneurs in a specific area, I don't know, agricultural field or whatever, or handicraft or whatever. Here you have to provide a context analysis and explain why this area is important and how your project will solve this problem. Here you have to describe and define the target groups and final beneficiaries, needs and constraints, and state how the action will address these needs. So this is at the sector level. This is a specific target groups level. Whom are you addressing? How are you going to involve them? Here you have to explain if you have particular other added value elements. And in this case, my suggestion is that you read very carefully the call for proposal, the documents, the program, and you find some additional elements like promoting gender equalities or promoting the respect of environment or things like that, which match some of the priorities of the program. And of course, they represent added value elements. Here, well, this is simply a description of the lead applicant, of the coordinator, and of the other eventual partners. So here you have some details about the project, basically the duration, the countries, but in this case it is forced by the call, the duration in months, and the European Union contribution, the funding that you are requesting, which, as I said before, must fall exactly into the range which is specified in the code, otherwise you are excluded. And then there are some formal documents. So you fill in this document and you basically send in the application. After that, you wait for the result of the evaluation, and if the evaluation is positive, then you are allowed to submit the full proposal, which is structured more or less in the same way, but of course it has a lot of additional details. I can try to download a full application. Okay, this is the full application form. It's the one that you are entitled to fill in, and basically what is, as you can see here, the number of pages is much higher. Description, and the description is 13 pages. The methodology is 5 pages. Indicative action plan, 4 pages. Sustainability of the action. Sustainability is a key issue in all international development projects. Maybe we should spend a few words on that. It is one of the things which makes a big difference between, for instance, other types of programs like Horizon 2020 or Erasmus, which some of you might be familiar with, run by the European Union, which are concentrated on European Union member states, where there is a request for sustainability, but this sustainability here is much different. Let's look very quickly at what they mean here by sustainability. Where is that? No, it is not detailed. Okay. But basically, sustainability in an international cooperation program must you must demonstrate that the project that you are doing will be sustainable at least under 3 directions. Of course, it must have a economic sustainability. It means that when the European funding stops at the end of the funding period, you have ways of continuing at least part of the actions or exploiting the results after the end of the project. I have a project funded for 2 years. I launch a number of actions, and I must show that after the end of the 2 years, something will still go on. There will be activities which will be funded in some ways, and therefore that the funding of the European Commission will not serve just to pay the salaries for 2 years, but it will produce something which will last in time. The second important dimension is the environmental sustainability. You must not damage the environment. On the contrary, you should try and preserve the environment and show that will have even your project will have, if possible, beneficial effects on the environment. And the third one is the so-called social sustainability, which basically means that your project will not create social problems during the project, but more importantly after the end of the project. So these are the 3 dimensions, at least, of sustainability that you have to describe in this type of action. Here is the logical framework. As I said, logical framework, it doesn't make sense to explain it in 5 minutes. It is a specific methodology, and I hope I will be able to run another seminar on that. Then you have the budget, and then you have to describe the experience of the partners in whatever project you submit to the European Commission. You must always demonstrate that you have sufficient and stable experience for managing actions in this sector, and the financial support that you have to provide. Okay, so we've quickly gone through the 3 main areas, and now I would like to open the floor for questions. I already have a question. There is one of you who says, I am the president of a non-profit organization, Creative and Innovative Society, established in May 2015. Are there possibilities for my organization to participate in these programs? Probably yes. So your question is whether there is a excuse me. Okay. you have to check very carefully in the documentation of the call if there are some rules as to what regards the time by which the organization exists. It is normally possible to participate as a partner even if your organization is young enough, is young, like it has, in your case, it has 6 months or not even 6 months. I personally would not recommend to submit a proposal as a coordinator, even if it is not said in the in the application in the guidelines for applicants that you need at least like 2 years of life, because as the last thing I said, analyzing the the application form, was that there is a request for demonstrating that you have sufficient stable resources, experience, and so on. So my recommendation for young organizations is to start participating as partners or subcontractors, and then little by little grow up and then become lead applicant or coordinator. So the answer is yes, with a number of points of attention. Okay, can you hear me now? Are there any other other burning questions that you would like to ask? Everything was clear? Any other questions? Doesn't seem so. Okay. So the last thing I want to say is that I have published a number of online courses on this platform. Uh, and I'm going to publish other ones on how to participate in European programs. So you are most welcome to. Some of them are for free, some of them have a small fee to pay, but I invite you to go and look at them. The other point is I have recorded the whole seminar and I'm going to publish it. And I'm not sure whether it's going to be through GoToWebinar on YouTube. I will decide that, but I will publish the information on Facebook. If you would like to receive this PowerPoint with all the links, you just send me an email at this address, which I think you have already received when you confirmed. So, oh no, sorry, there are another question. There's one gentleman who was asking, how can I find a coordinator to be a partner? This is a very good question, because I said that I suggesting that at the beginning you join another organization. So my suggestion, well, you have to consider this point, that if you consider submitting a proposal in a specific area and in a specific country, then it means that you are already in some ways operating in that country, or you have connections with that country or in this area. And through this, and because of this, you must be able to identify a proper partner. Another solution that you can use is to go to a social network. For instance, on LinkedIn, there are many groups on LinkedIn which are dealing with European programs, international cooperation, etc. And if you post something there looking for partners or coordinators, you normally get lots of actions. Another way of finding possible partners is to surf the net, and especially on the European Commission websites or in the website of the delegation in that country, and to find out which organizations have already run projects in that area. These are organizations um, which are normally, of course, interested in setting up other projects, and of course, you can get in touch with them. Okay, there seems apparently no other. I'm going through the question. Uh, one of you is asking, education is a sector of interest to calls for proposal and procurement. Absolutely, yes. There are many programs which are focused on improving the education system in many different countries. Now, of course, it is a priority which is defined in the action plan for the specific country. So the first thing that you have to do is to look at the specific countries you are interested in, to download the application, the action plan, and to find out whether this is a priority. But I would say that in 80 to 90% of the cases, education and training is definitely a sector of interest in this kind of proposals. So the answer, of course, is yes. Uh, Another one, someone is asking whether there will be other seminars on other programs. I am currently, from time to time, I'm publishing on the Facebook group a poll where I ask people whether they would be interested in seminars on other programs. So yes, definitely. For your information, in this site that I'm showing here, there is one course on introductory course on Horizon 2020, and therefore this is something that you can look at. Another question. Yes, of course, I will send you the link to the website when I publish it. Most of you, I think, have seen this seminar on my Facebook group. So if you for those who are not members of the Facebook group, I can show you how is it called. So that for those who are on Facebook and who are interested, you can become members of this group. It is called like this: EU funding, how to access programs and projects. And this is where I will publish the link. But if you are not part of this group, you don't want to become part of this group, you just send me an email and I will send you the information. There is another question here. Are the consortium correspond as the same in Horizon 2020? Yes and no. What is happening is that Horizon 2020 is much more flexible as it regards the type of organizations which can participate. But on the other hand, it requests that there are normally requests that there are at least three participation countries. Here, that is not the case. It is much. There are many limitations about the type of partners. For instance, in the code that we have seen, it was meant basically for civil society organizations. So if you're a private company, for instance, you couldn't participate in that. But on the other hand, you don't have the need for having three countries. You can do even a project which only with, in this case, with Palestinian organizations or one Palestinian and one European countries. It's much less strict under this respect. Okay. What is the name of the Facebook group? As I said, it is this one. It is. I don't know why you cannot. I cannot show it in full. But anyway, it is called like this: EU funding. How to access? Ah, here it is. EU funding column. How to access programs and projects. So I think these are okay. So these were the main questions. Are there any questions which I have overlooked, which I have not answered to, or that you would like to ask? Well, if not, I thank you very much for attending the seminar, for participating, and as I said, I will send the PowerPoint presentation to all of you, and I hope we can keep in touch. We are always interested in making partnerships, in providing support to those who want to participate in European projects. Thank you very much, and bye bye.